What's up, everyone? Tim Collins here with the TC Lifestyle Fit Podcast. I have an incredible guest here in the building with us today, Miss Taylor Johnson from WOWT.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. Thank you for being here. We met at the Epic for Girls event. She was the MC. And, you know, when you're in those environments, the goal is to go around and connect with other people. Because when you are in a building with so many amazing leaders, it's an opportunity for you to learn and grow. But Miss Taylor, tell us about how you got into the profession of becoming a news anchor. That's beast mode.
Yeah. So for me, I'm very fortunate because it was a childhood dream. So I always wanted to be on the news. Mm-hmm. It started with me kind of watching the weather. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's very intriguing. Mm-hmm. And so from there, you know, I loved to write. I loved to talk to people. Mm-hmm. My great-grandmother had a video camera, and so we would always be in front of that. So I'm like, well, how can I, you know, take these things and make it into something? And, you know, being a journalist was the way to do that. So I love storytelling. As I mentioned, I love writing. And so when I got to middle school, there was an opportunity to do it through the morning announcements. So they had a camera kind of set up like we have here. And then they would have us read the first paragraph of the Washington Post. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I grew up in Maryland. So we would read the first paragraph of a story on the Washington Post, the lunch menu, and the weather. And I just really enjoyed doing that. You know, we would do it in front of the school. And then from there, I went to high school and joined the newspaper. And then I found out I could major in it in college. And so I went to University of Maryland and studied journalism there and graduated. And now I'm doing it every day, and I don't know what else I would do.
So amazing. How competitive is the process of becoming a news anchor on one of the largest TV networks in the country? Yeah,
well, it's levels to it, honestly. So you have...
There's levels to everything.
Yes, you have the local level and you have the national level. So while WOWT is an NBC station, we're not actually like owned by the NBC network. We're owned by a smaller broadcast company. And so, but on either level, it's very competitive, mainly because it's about showing your skills. And I mean, any job, it's about showing your skills, but with the news, we have to create a resume tape, which means they're looking at our storytelling abilities. They're looking at how we look. They're looking at our delivery style. And the thing about the news is that it's a very subjective business. So you could have all the talent, but if you don't have the look that, you know, the station is going for, or they don't feel like you appeal to their demographic that they're trying to target, then they might choose someone else over you. So it can be really tough, you know. But I've learned over time just not to take it personal. You know, you will get the right fit. Yeah.
Can you talk about the remarkable opportunity you were given to be the MC at the Epic for Girls event? Miss Dawn Staley, for those of you who don't know who Dawn Staley is, she's one of the greatest sports athletes in the history of athletics. She had has 500 wins.
Yes.
She's the head coach of University of South Carolina.
She's a Hall of Famer too, right?
She's a Hall of Famer. USA women's basketball.
An Olympian,
Olympian, probably seen her on Nike commercials. Dawn Staley, she is just an amazing, and so many key takeaways that I personally got from her speech last Thursday. And what she said on the concept of discipline. You can't accomplish anything good in your life without being disciplined with your intentions. Can you elaborate on how that concept resonated with you and what you're pursuing in life right now?
Yeah, well, discipline is definitely a big part of this career in so many different ways, especially because the way that the news is now, you know, years ago it was where it would be like a whole maybe 4-person crew, a reporter, a sound person, a camera person, and sometimes maybe even a field producer. But now the way that they're setting things up, we have to do it all ourselves as reporters. It's not it's I feel like it's becoming less common to be paired up with even a camera person. So you have to be the one to go out to set up the equipment. Well, find the story, then go set up the equipment, you know, do the interview, do the editing and everything. And that's a lot of work, and you have to do it under pressure because we work on daily deadlines. So sometimes you may have 2 to 3 hours to get everything done. Or if it's a breaking news situation where it's something that's happening right now, and we're going live in a few minutes, you got to know what to do. You got to know how to do it, and you have to be willing to do it and do it quickly, you know? So discipline is a big part of the career. I go to work at 3 a.m. 3 days a week. People think that I'm like so crazy for that because I like to do the morning news.
You go to work at 3, which means you need to be there at 3.
I need to be there.
You're not waking up at 3. You're there at 3.
I'm there at 3. I'm dressed and all that. And that takes discipline within itself to be able to get up, to go to bed in order to get enough time to get enough rest, because I got to get my rest. It's very important.
What's your success routine? Like, how do you wake up that early in the morning and still give your best energy to people on national TV?
It's a mindset. It's definitely a mindset. I'm passionate about the work that I do. So, you know, it's really nothing for me to get up and do it. It's not easy getting up out of bed at 2:30 in the morning. I'm going to be honest about that. But I'm lucky because I live very close to the station. So, you know, sometimes I might, you know, snooze for 10 minutes. But, you know, I got to get up and I got to be on. And I actually had started out in my career behind the scenes, working on the website in Lynchburg, Virginia, at the station there. And sometimes I'm like, man, I miss those days where I could just show up to work. No one's going to see me. You know, I can just wear whatever I want and everything. But it's different when you have to be on air, be ready to go at 5 a.m., get here at 3, you know. But I consider myself a morning person. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thanks. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Who is it for then?
You know what?
That's what I wanted to ask you. Who is it for? What type of personality does an individual need to have for this line of work, being in front of the camera all the time?
Every day, right? Personalities, because you have your morning news people who are more like upbeat, you know, they're a little bit more chipper, you know, help you to get your day started. And then you have like the evening news folks who are probably a little bit more stoic, you know, a little bit more serious. And then you have sports people and they're like full of energy. The weather people, they're pretty energetic too. So I think it's all about learning like what your lane is in it. Because I mean, I have colleagues who tell me I could never do the morning shift. It's just not for them, you know. So it just all depends on, you know, your personality type. And I mean, working in news, there's so many different ways you can go. Like I just mentioned, we have sports, we have weather, we have the news part of things. But then you also have like entertainment news. You also have science news. You have fashion news. Like it's so many different lanes. You have people who find passion in being behind the camera, shooting the video. You have people who find passion in being the editors, people who find passion in being the digital people, doing the website, the social media. So it's just so many different avenues. You don't have to be on the camera. Everybody doesn't want to be on the camera, you know, which is, I always think it's so interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't want to be on air? And people are like, no, you know, people, you just got to know what your lane is and like what your strong suit is and pursue that.
That's amazing. Taylor, can you talk about moments in your life or experiences growing up in Maryland that shaped you or your character for the line of work that you're in today? Because you need a certain level of passion, strength, energy to be a successful reporter and to operate in high pressure situations.
Oh, yeah.
What are some experiences? No one gets to that level without going through obstacles and challenges. Can you talk about what you experienced in your journey?
I would definitely say that my faith in my relationship with God is what has kept me. Yeah, because I'm gonna be honest. Last year, I almost quit the business because I was just going through a trial period that I just did not know if I was going to be able to get out of it. And I have sacrificed, this is my 6th year in news, professionally, 6 years away from family. And, you know, I was living in Kansas City at the time. And so I'm like, well, for all of this turmoil that I'm going through, I can just go back home and be with my family and make more money. You know, I thought that was what would make me happier and bring me peace. But honestly, it's just constantly staying in prayer, staying in scripture, remembering the things that, you know, God has brought to my mind to confirm and to, you know, assure me that for one, he's with me, and for two, that I'm on the right path. And thankfully, as he always does, you know, he makes a way of escape. He, you know, he opens, you know, the door for other opportunities. And long story short, that's how I ended up here in Omaha. But I think a big part in it is believing in yourself from the beginning, because it's like, if you don't have the confidence in yourself and your skills, you know, you can have all the discipline in the world, you know, you can have all of the technical skills, but especially when the going gets hard, because in news, there will be people who tell you that you're not ready for something, or they don't think that you have what it takes to fulfill a certain role. And if you believe that and then you internalize that, then you're not going to make it past that point. But if you have the determination and you know what you have to offer, you believe in yourself, you know, it's like, I hear what you're saying, but I know what I can do, and you go and pursue it anyway. So I think it was just a lot of running into people telling me what I could not do, because I've run into that a lot. And just remembering, you know, my position with God and who he is to me and what he has told me and what he has promised me. And, you know, I just kind of keep pushing through with that. And it's also good to have a village, have a supportive family and friends, mentors, you know, because sometimes you really need that mental push, because it can get really hard.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Pressure. I remember watching it was a comedy skit. Chris Rock, he had said, pressure makes diamonds, not hugs. It was funny, but it was also very realistic when he said it. And I think human beings, you need a little bit of both. Yeah. God puts pressure in our life because he knows what we're capable of. Right. He knows what our potential is. However, he also, like you said, puts individuals in your life to nurture you along the way, because none of us have accomplished anything great on our own. Right. It's God giving us support, giving us a vision, and also surrounding us with strong individuals to complement areas of our life where we may not have an accelerated capacity yet. Yeah. Can you talk about one person in your life who is just always there? We know God is always there in our life, but who is that person that God put in your life that carried you along the way in those moments where you just were tired and you felt like you couldn't go anymore? Yeah. Oh, that's easy. It's my grandmother. Hey, Gloria. That's my grandma. Miss Gloria. Yes. Give all the glory to Miss Gloria. That's. I'd love to meet Miss Gloria. Yeah. She's fantastic. And I mean, even before I even got into news, because when I graduated from college, I thought I wanted to do something different. So I graduated at a time where like social media and like digital was becoming a career, and I was really into like blogging and stuff like that. So, and like podcasting too. So I was like, oh, maybe I could like do something with that. So instead I worked like a corporate communications job for 2 years, and then I started like hit a wall with that. And I just remember, because that was a toxic work environment, and I just remember, you know, calling her, and I would just be like, you know, crying on the phone, you know, and she would just encourage me, you know, not just, you know, kind words and everything, but she would encourage me through the word. And, you know, she's always been my biggest supporter, always been my biggest cheerleader. And it's funny because we've always been very close. So when I first told her that I was gonna have to move away from home, she wasn't feeling that too much. She was like, are you telling me you're about to pick up and leave? But then after a while, she got with the program, and you know, every time, and I'm blessed to have the family that I have, because they understand what it takes for me to have to grow. I know some families, they don't want their kids to leave. They want to keep them close to them, you know.
But they really, her, my mom, my other relatives have allowed me to like really spread my wings, and they've always been very supportive. You know, so if I can't come home for the holidays or things like that, they never give me a hard time about it. If they hear I'm moving to some random city, they get excited about it. Like whenever I tell my grandmother where I'm going next, she gets to researching. So she knew more about Omaha than I did before I even got here, you know. They're very invested and have always been.
Grandmama knows best.
Yes.
So I have a question. You know, when you are preparing to go live, like what type of stories? Like what type of stories are you looking for? Like, do you get to choose what stories you tell or what stories you broadcast? Or is there a process? What does that look like exactly?
So I'm very fortunate now in the stage that I'm in that here at WOWT, a lot of the times I do stories that I would like to do. I am technically a general assignment reporter, so that means that anything is fair game. You know, breaking news, house fires, crashes, and things. But here I've been able to do stories, like pitch stories that I'm passionate about, and they give me the time and space to do it. When I've worked other places like Kansas City, you know, that's a city in a news market where there's a lot more going on. And I worked the morning shift there as well. So a lot of the times I was on a lot of like breaking news stories, so the shootings, the fires and stuff. So it really all depends, but I just like being able to do like what we're doing now and just, you know, sit down, talk with people, get to know them and, you know, just tell their story. And it's always fulfilling when people are like, you know, thank you for the way that you told it. You know, you did a great job. Because it's a lot of pressure too to tell a story because you want to make sure you're telling it right. You want to make sure you're being fair. You want to make sure you're being accurate. You know, that you're not like embellishing anything. You know, ethics is a really big part of this career, having integrity as well. So it's a great responsibility. It really is. Not just, you know, getting the information from people, but presenting it to others as well. You know, we have a big responsibility in this job.
How does it feel being a successful young African-American woman on TV?
You know, it feels great, mainly because, like I said, it was a childhood dream. And I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily get to live out what they fantasized about when they were a kid. So I really find that to be a blessing. And there's still more that I want to do. You know, I feel like, honestly, I'm just getting started, you know, 6 years in. And I've been out of college for 8. Yes, I feel like I've been, you know, I'm just getting started. But I definitely would like to see more. I feel like we need more representation, especially in smaller cities. And it might be, sometimes it might be representative of the populations there. But like when I go home and I look at the news in DC, or like you look at New York or LA, like the diversity is great. But it definitely can be lacking, like in the smaller cities and the smaller markets.
How do we improve that in our community?
I mean, it starts at the top, honestly. And I feel like with a lot of these things, it comes down to the decision makers. And like I said earlier, it's a subjective business. So the decision makers might decide that they want this person because they look like this or whatever. So that's the frustrating part about it. But I would just say, like, you know, don't necessarily let that deter you. Because it should be all about skills, you know, and your talent. But it's not always that way.
That's so good. Couple more questions before we wrap up this amazing podcast. You know, we could go. I love podcasting, go all day, forever and forever. But just a couple more. What is your perspective on the pursuit of happiness? What does that look like? I mean, I think that's a different answer that everyone would give to that question. I'm curious to find out what yours is. What's your pursuit of happiness? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? I remember what Don Staley said. It has to look good, it has to feel good, it has to sound good.
Yeah.
Can you tie that all in together?
I would say for me, it's all about being in a constant state of contentment and actually like authentically feeling content. Because I know some people will say, yeah, I'm happy where I am, you know, and they're really not. But I've always said, you know, and especially at this stage of my life, like God, you could do nothing else for me, and I would be good, you know. And I just feel like that mindset alone just creates a sense of happiness and joy within me that I can just enjoy my life, you know, and also just being intentional and making sure that I'm doing things that bring me enjoyment, that, you know, help me to, you know, feel fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. And it doesn't have to be big things. Like I shared with you this morning, you know, I got up extra early to exercise because I knew I was going to be here, because that's something that makes me feel good, you know, or making sure I have my favorite snacks in the house, getting out to get fresh air, having good, solid friendships and relationships, you know, just the little things like that. And for me, you know, it's just always being mindful and just being in a constant state every day of being just happy with what I have in this moment.
That's amazing. Waking up every day with gratitude.
Yes.
Knowing you have a gift that needs to be shared with the world, and just allowing God to align your steps, and to get out there and just give your best, because that's all you can give, right? Is your best effort. Yes.
There's, when you were asking about like how you develop discipline, there was actually something my grandmother shared with me years ago, and it's popular, the 4 Agreements. Are you familiar with the 4 Agreements? So
I will be after you tell me.
Okay, so it's a book. It's a book. I haven't read the book, but the 4 Agreements are just basically like 4 principles to help you live by. And hopefully I can remember them off the top of my head. So 1 is don't take things personally. Always do your best. Don't make assumptions. And then be impeccable with your word. And so
be impeccable with your word.
So say what you mean what you say. Always do your best and I really liked that one because it said our best will be different from time to time, because there are days where you don't feel well and you just, you know, push through and do the best that you can, or, you know, when you're feeling fully healthy, this is the best you can do, or, you know, I don't have all the resources, but here's the best that I can do with what I have now. Don't make assumptions. It was a really good one. And I really try to keep with that one. One of the standout points underneath that one is nothing others do is because of you. And that's why I really try my best, like, not to take things personally, you know?
That is so good.
You know, so I, in my first job, my communications job, I kept that on my wall in my cubicle, because it really helped me to navigate the professional world, because you're going to run into so many crazy things, personalities, decisions that don't make sense, you know, just all types of things can happen in the corporate world. And you want to be able to know how to not only conduct yourself professionally, but I think it's also just good for your own mental state. And I mean, you can use them in personal relationships as well. But the 4 Agreements really, I feel like, really help to just kind of shape and develop me as a professional. And I think also when you aren't sweating stuff, you know, so much, it makes it a little easier to navigate things as well.
That is so beautiful. Don't sweat things that,
because a lot of things we don't have control over. Yeah, you know, a lot of things we don't have control over. And I think the faster that we come to that realization, the better, and the less, you know, just the less pressure that we put on ourselves. You know, because a lot of the times, like that one agreement says, it's because of other people's reality and the things that they have going on. So if you do get passed up for an opportunity, but you know you have the skills, it's like, cool, that doesn't work here. You know, it's not, I don't think it's necessarily because of anything that I've done wrong or any lack of ability that I have. It just doesn't fit here. So then you go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, then how can I pivot to the next thing, you know?
Yes, I think it's so important to celebrate your own victories, celebrate other people's victories. And just because you're not exactly where you want to be yet doesn't mean you aren't in alignment with getting to your goal. Delayed is not denied. My pastor says that all the time.
That's true. And that's another thing too that's just important to get in mind as well. Because another thing I would say with me is that I would rush a lot. And what I mean, like with news, we work on contracts. So we're contracted either 2 or 3 years. And like, I'm a big city person. Like, I grew up outside the big city. You know, I would love to live in the big city again. So starting out and living in these small towns, you know, as soon as I get there, I'm like, okay, so how much longer do I have till my contract is up? And I'm on like day 2 of like 600, you know? So I had to really learn to slow down and be present, because there's something in each of these stops that I've been needing to get. And each level is a new level of experience. It's a new level of lessons. It's a new level of discipline and developing and changing your mindset. And I just really had to learn to slow down. And so what I appreciate the most about Omaha is that it's giving me that ability to do that. I'm almost a year in here, but I would say this is my first time coming to a city, and I'm like, I can relax. I can do my job, you know, continue to learn and grow in that way. But I'm not rushing. And I think also too with the rushing, it's like, I want to get to the top. I want to be in New York City. I want to be in LA. And it takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes growth. Because I mean, we can also be very confident in ourselves and not be ready. I mean, that can also be true too. And I guess there was a lot of times where I felt like I was ready for more. And then I go back and look at myself during that time period, and I'm like, oh no, girl, you need a little bit more practice, you know? So that's what I see, especially my time here working at Channel 6. Like, I'm very passionate about the work that I do, but it's also getting me ready for, you know, that next level, you know, and I have faith I'll get there at some point. I'm still youthful, so I got some time.
Yes, you have a lot of youthful energy. So persist with patience. That's what I'm learning from you.
Yeah, persist with patience.
That's so good.
You got to learn how to do it, though. It don't come. Patience doesn't come. It does not come.
It's probably one of the most important virtues that we can learn or develop in our life, because everything good, it takes time to develop.
Yes.
And also, once you get that good thing, you can lose it quickly.
Yeah.
So
and that's why
you got to build a character to sustain it.
Yes. And that's why I say too, it's good to be content in every spot that you're in too. Because like you said, you could, you know, you could lose it. And if that happens, are you good with that? Are you good with where you're at?
That's amazing. What's your message to the last question? What's your message to the community?
My message to the community, it's all about building fruitful, solid connections. And that's something that has always been important to me. Every stop that I've made it my intention to get out and meet people. And that's how opportunities come about. That's how I'm here today speaking with you. That's how I, ended up being able to do Epic for Girls. It is about who you know. And you want to make sure that you keep a good circle of support around you, especially me being someone who has moved a lot on my own. I don't have kids. I don't have a husband. It's just me. I don't have family here with me. So if it wasn't for building that community, getting to know others, making friends, building a support system, each step of the way, I don't think I would have been able to survive. And I have met people, friends of mine here who work in the same industry as me and have been here longer than I have. And they say they don't get out. They don't meet people. And I know it's hard. Some people are introverted, but my challenge to people is to step out of that comfort zone, go to a networking event, go sit by yourself at the bar and have a conversation with somebody, and you just never know where it will lead.
Wow. What you know, who you know, and how you go determines your victories in life.
That's good.
I got that from you.
That's really good. I like that.
I just thought about that from what you said. So man, let's clap it up for Miss Taylor. Amazing podcast today. Let's thank Miss Taylor. She is an amazing. Where else can they find you? I know you said you're on YouTube, you're Instagram.
So yes, I am on Instagram. My Instagram is NewsLadyTay, and my Twitter is the same as well. And then I do have a YouTube on the side. I'm really into the Real Housewives franchise. So I like to give
my wife, she's in all that too. So she'll
Yes.
probably go find it after she watches this podcast. She'll go see your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I give my recaps on there, and that's called the Housewives News Network. And I have a TikTok of the same name.
So amazing. High five it.
Yes, thank you.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the TC Lifestyle
Gotta
Fit
subscribe, hit the notification bell too.
Yes, hit that notification. Hit her notification
Yes,
also.
mine too.
Yeah, so until next time, go ahead. Flex. You can't really see it through the shirt. But, yeah, she's strong. She's strong. How many push-ups did you do this morning?
You know what? I didn't count them, but we did like about 45 seconds worth. And then as we go down and up, we had to like curl our leg. It was tough. But I will
Those
say,
isolated ones are even tougher.
it's rough. But I'm proud of myself because I take a class called bar. And when I first started, I could
I
not
have clients
hold
doing that.
I love it. I couldn't hold a plank. Couldn't do push-ups all the way through the 45 seconds. And I'm doing it now. So I'm getting stronger.
Level up one step at a time.
Yes.
So we'll see you guys again. See you soon. Love you all. Peace out.